and welcome to what might be the happiest majority rules episode ever. This is season 1, episode 22. This is a podcast about Mizzou Athletics Majority, which is Olympic sports athletes who have been killing it this past week. We are here and we are full of glee. Glee, I tell you. I am your host, Karen Steger. I'm the softball, gymnastics, and co-swim beat writer and Olympic sports manager at rockmnation.com. If you guys would like to introduce yourselves and say what sports you cover, and we'll save our question for the day for a little bit later. Let's go below me, Rory.
Hey guys,
I just you mute yourself.
Right? It's been a long day. Hey guys, it's Rory Whetstone. I am a co-baseball writer, co-swim, kind of all over the place. Also have tennis and golf. Just kind of bringing you all kinds of updates wherever I can.
And then let's go to Quentin.
Hello, I'm Quentin Corpuel. I cover football and men's basketball with a little bit of women's basketball for Rock M Nation. And I'm very excited for today's episode because we actually have some positive women's basketball things to talk about.
And you cover softball for another outlet.
And I also cover softball for another outlet. That is correct. Also very excited for that season to start.
And to the fellas.
To the roommates. My name is Dylan Heinrich. I am the soccer and primary women's basketball beat writer and a break class in case of emergency softball writer as well, which we'll get into. But, got some to talk about, especially with women's basketball, one of the most electric games all year.
And I'm for Rock M Nation. For the on only.
Uh-oh, I can't. Your guys' internet is cutting out for me now. We're having problems today. Matthew, say your thing one more time.
Okay. All right. Take 2. And I'm Susan, the volleyball, wrestling, and co-baseball beat writer for Rock M Nation.
Thank you so much. Though 22 episodes in, everybody should know who you are at this point, because I think you've only not been here one whole time. And you sent in a video that time.
I sent in a video from the Whataburger, Oklahoma.
That's right. That
was an interest. I have some, but we won't get into that on this show.
We are having some internet issues today, guys.
Hey, whatever you just said, I don't think God wanted you to say that. I couldn't hear anything.
Oh God.
Right. Let's see if. Okay.
Tiger Wi-Fi.
Is Tiger Wi-Fi going to work? Is that
what the problem is? Is the Tiger Wi-Fi? And like how it went out completely at the men's basketball game.
Oh,
that last weekend.
Tell me about those 27 minutes that it was not working. That was not a good time.
Yeah, like my work computer doesn't have any internet access on it unless I'm connected to Wi-Fi. I would have just been like, well, I can use my phone, I guess. But that is not ideal. All right. So
we're having some issues here. Do you want to turn on your computer? Good.
We'll do as best we can. And we will
now, and if it happens again, then we'll switch.
Yeah. We're like, sorry, Levi. We had some problems this time.
If our Wi-Fi messes up again, then we'll try Dylan's computer. Worst case scenario, we can go to the student center, or actually Memorial Union might work. We can find a spot and go from there.
All right. Well, let's try to get through as much as we can before that problem happens. So, you guys, women's basketball. Oh my God. Mizzou won a game on a buzzer beater. Before we get to the takeaways, I think that we should listen to our very own Quentin's call, which was put on KCOU Twitter. Oh, we're going to go back.
Poked away by Randall, taken by Slaughter. 10 seconds. Slaughter driving. 5 seconds. Slaughter's got to go. Slaughter, 2 seconds. Fall away. Got it! Got it! They've done it. Missouri wins it at the buzzer. What a statement by Grace Slaughter. Poked away by Randall, taken by...
That was unreal. So, let's talk about it. Dylan, you were there. Quentin, you called it. It was something.
Yeah, I mean, it was the best game that I've seen them play in a while. Probably the SLU game, when I think about it. Easily their best in SEC play for a while. Just a real combination of things going right. I mean, they were finally able to limit their turnovers, only finished with 10 on the game. Forced 12 out of Mississippi State, wins the points off turnovers battle 15-8. We've mentioned before how this team seems like they can't put together a full 40. It always is 1 or 2 quarters that kind of dooms them. We're finally able to put together that full 40 minutes. Weren't ahead for most of the game. We're actually trailing for the majority of this game, but just kept hanging with it. So eventually, when it came down to that final buzzer, I kind of buried the lead, but it's Grace Slaughter. Not only did she hit the game-winning basket on a buzzer beater, she set a new career high of 31 points, which dwarfed her previous amount of 22, and it was just an aggressiveness that we quite haven't seen from her before. She was weaving her way to the baskets, getting to the free throw line, not afraid to take some deep threes, and those risks paid off massively for this team. As a sophomore already, Slaughter is proving herself to be the current, the present, and the future of this program. And I will say, again, things have been dire between last year and this year. If Grace Slaughter can continue to put up these type of nights more consistently, there are bright things ahead for Missouri women's basketball.
I agree. Also, the photos that I put up, our very own Cal Tobias captured those. This is like the coolest picture I've ever seen in my life.
He is 2 for 2 this season on getting dog piles. The other one was Zion Young's fumble return versus Oklahoma, and he got an unbelievable shot of that. So props to him for getting another one. It looks like look, this is a funny one. It looks like Grace is being like exercised. And scroll to the one where she's in the interview with Abby Schreck pointing to her. Who's the girl in Willy Wonka that ate the blueberry?
Veruca Salt.
She looks like she just ate like a Willy Wonka design blueberry. and now she's slowly becoming the blueberry.
Can't tell if it's like embarrassment or just pure happiness or just exhaustion, but
Everything probably.
Yeah.
It's probably all of those things.
I love this one too.
I love Hannah Linthicum's face.
I texted Dylan during the game, and I was like, that girl is insane. Like, she is just so animated all the time. And it's like, I just wait to see after the games what the pictures of her look like, because she just like goes berserk on the sideline.
For the record, it's actually Violet Beauregard, apparently. And my apologies. It's been a couple years since
'cause
I
it's
watched
Violet. You're turning violet.
Mm.
Grace didn't quite get that far, but it was, she looked like the same color of her hair.
Well, I'm glad she wasn't choking or something.
She did the opposite, actually. She clutched up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Violet turned blue. Veruca Salt was the one that like wanted a swirl for some reason. I still don't really get it,
It was
but
like goose.
Oh no, she wanted the big egg, and then she went on that like sing song. Why won't you get me this egg? And then she stood on the machine that like transported the eggs, and it shot her like downward, like into whatever. And that's how she.
what a wild movie for the 1970s.
Shout out Jamie Lee.
Roald Dahl is one of my favorite children's authors as a former teacher. I would
He's
still
got-
read those books to this day.
He's got such a cool life story too.
Yeah. But anyway, this is about Mizzou women's basketball.
Actually,
We've taken a detour into children's literature.
Hey, no, this game was storybook. Like seriously, it was. The last possession was interesting because I didn't realize. I'm Dylan. I'm glad you brought this up in the post game presser. Robin Pinchton had 2 timeouts
Really?
in her back pocket. Yeah, she had timeouts, which was I think the one thing I may have forgotten to say on the broadcast, but everything else I think I got, so that was good. But yeah, she had a couple timeouts. She said, I think with about 5 seconds left, she was thinking about using one because Grace Slaughter had gotten stonewalled a couple of times as she tried to create something. But sure, she's glad she didn't use one of those timeouts because that lefty hook shot was pretty sweet. And I said it right after when it went in. She loves that pivot foot. She really, really uses all that there is to use with a pivot foot. And when she was stuck, she used her height. She used the right side of her body to shield off. I actually believe it was Denim to Shields that was guarding her. That was unintentional, I
She's
promise.
so good.
Denim, oof. She's not quite Diamond, but Denim is pretty good. You know who was good?
And that was still pretty tough.
Jakayla Jordan. Holy cow.
Oh,
pretty piece.
wait. Oh my God. I have a story about this. So Jakayla Jordan had hit like, I don't know, 6,000 threes at this point. And I will say that there are some Mizzou basketball families that sit around me. And I will not name the family that said it to protect their privacy. But someone behind me goes, oh my God, now I'm going to forget what exactly it was. It was like, you know, they could just like waste a foul and smack her or something.
I mean, hey, she missed 8 free throws. That honestly that could have been a better option. And that's one of the things that ended up deciding the game. Jakayla Jordan missed 8 free throws. And Mississippi State ended up missing 10 as a team. Mizzou went, I believe, 20 of 23 from the free throw line, and Grace Slaughter and Ashton Judd were both perfect. So that's where you're really glad you spent all those extra hours practicing free throws because it allowed Mizzou to be in the situation it was at the end of the game, let alone win it at the buzzer. And also huge props to Lanaya Randall. She was excellent too.
So good.
Does not happen if she does not poke the ball away from Jakayla Jordan. She generated a handful of deflections. She was really stout defensively. Not as proficient on offense as we've seen her before, but she took advantages of mismatches multiple times and scored down low, which I enjoyed seeing. She didn't get the short corner jumper going as much as I thought she could, like she had in other games against Georgia. But I thought that was positive. And then Ashton Judd. Look, she made some really costly turnovers towards the end of that game.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like classic Ashton Judd. I can't believe that happened. Turnovers.
So my dad said about that. Since I was there, obviously I wasn't watching it on TV. My dad said the announcers actually made a comment on TV about like, there's no reason for her to try to make that pass. Like there was absolutely no reason for her to do what she was trying to do.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Wasn't going to do anything.
It's sometimes decision making, sometimes it's execution. She had a couple of turnovers where she tried to dish it to the big down low, and ended up just throwing it at their feet, and it would go out of bounds. Like, it just wasn't a good pass. And then she, I think, stepped out of bounds while trying to tiptoe the baseline. I think she had another errant pass somewhere in there. They felt like
It
that
went like directly to a Bulldogs player.
Yeah, it was just like it was one of those passes where the second it leaves your hands, you have a really bad feeling about it. Like, that's the kind of, like, that's a flaw I have as a basketball player, is that I'll see like a backdoor cut and I'll be like a half second late in throwing the pass, and it will get deflected and usually stolen. And those are really frustrating because you see him open for a second. And you know the opportunity's there, you just couldn't execute. And unfortunately, Ashton Judd's had a lot of those in his career. And they popped up in the biggest moments last night, and I was really worried that it was going to cost Mizzou again. Thankfully, in part due to the heroics of her backcourt teammate, that didn't have to happen. But last thing I'll say is I feel really bad for Jerkayla Jordan, because holy freaking crap, she is good. She dropped 40. Career high. It was, I believe, 36. I think it was 36 entering the game. But I mean, she's one of the best players in Mississippi State history. This is her fourth year in Starkville. She started at Tulane, was immediately one of the best players in the conference, transferred up, has been a cornerstone for the team these past few years, helped ease a coaching transition to Sam Purcell, with her sticking around. And it was interesting. The first few minutes, she wasn't getting a whole lot. But then that second half, she took it up a few levels. And they were, I honestly thought a lot of the time it was pretty good defense. It was just better offense. I think a lot of her shots were pretty well contested. Just sometimes you gotta give it to the better player. And I really appreciate like the pace she plays with.
A tip of the hat to her.
She is so in control. Like the amount of decisions she made, which I thought were poor, weren't really any that I can think of off the top of my head. Like, even when she got the ball poked away by Lanai Randall, that's really good defense. And so I really enjoyed watching her play. It was cool to see her have a career night. It's just unfortunate for her.
Her shot is beautiful.
Oh, yes. It's just unfortunate for her that a 40 ball was all for naught, because of a few other things that drag Mississippi State down. But I think for Mizzou's sake, they needed this one badly.
Yes.
I think every SEC game they had played up until this point, except Georgia, the last like couple minutes of the game didn't really matter all that much. And then obviously the last time they were in a crunch time situation, they lost on a buzzer beating 3-pointer after blowing a 14 point second. Yeah, good. So I'm happy for them that they got this. They got a win. 0-18 is not a discussion anymore. Being a part of unfortunate.
Yeah, Rory.
Listen, I never meant to jinx the team. I knocked on wood when I said it. It was just a question. You don't need to kill me anymore.
Rory, I think you might have reverse jinxed them. So actually, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
I only bring hard things around.
Thank you, Rory. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
I think another shout out we haven't talked about is Abby Schreck. Like, she only had 6 points on 2 made threes, but had quite possibly the biggest play of the game with under 90 seconds. Mississippi State scores to go ahead by 4. And then you run a play for Abby Schreck, who's a sophomore coming off the bench. Easy 3, puts up a pump fake, 1 dribble, then finally puts the shot up and in and lets all the magic happen. This game was kind of falling away from them. You could kind of see the cracks start to fold, and that, Mizzou's going to give it away again like they had so many times this season. But this is something that like elite players do, like we saw with Grace Slaughter at the buzzer, like we saw with Abby Schreck. They can stay calm under pressure, and that was a big moment from 2 players still under class. Like, after this year, knock on wood, should have 2 more years of both of these players. Enjoy it.
Yeah. Like you had talked about in that last piece that you wrote that that's one of the positives is they have all of this young talent, which, I don't think that this changes anything in regards to the coaching situation for next year, but knowing you have people like that on your roster, if they stick around, that could be really helpful for the team moving forward.
Another thing that I touched. Oh, you want to go, Q?
No, you got it, Dylan. Then I'll push it out.
Another thing I touched on in that piece is, especially in college, winning cultures aren't bought; they're built. Like, if you, regardless of who the coach is, if all the players know how to do is lose, it's going to be even harder to try and build that program from scratch. And obviously, Mizzou women's basketball done a lot of losing over these last couple of years. But every single game that you're competitive, that you're fighting to the end, and then games like this where you can pull off that upsets on just, again, incredible fashion, pulling up clutch and in clutch moments, that's going to mean so much more in the next couple of years, especially for someone like Grace Slaughter, knowing, okay, I've been in these situations before, I got this. So when you're building that culture, it starts at the very bottom, and it just has to be slowly built brick by brick. So this is a real encouraging sign for Mizzou, but you got to keep it up the rest of the season. You can't just ride this one win. Keep playing, keep being competitive against every team that you face.
What really stuck out to me is, and I don't know, like Dylan, we had talked about, like, I don't know if it's because the game was on a Monday, but the attendance was so god awful at this game. Like, I counted the number of people, I could count the number of people that were sitting on the side opposite the student section. There were under 20 people sitting over there. Like, it was so sad. I mean, like, the people that were there were super involved in the game. That was great to see. Like, it's obviously the diehard fans that were there, and then me. I don't know if I can call myself diehard. But man, like, could you imagine that game with like a full arena, or at least like half full? Like, it would have given shades of the South Carolina win many years ago.
And the thing is,
Lesties.
we know it's possible too, right? Both because of, like I said, the South Carolina game and the fact that attendance at Mizzou for some of the other women's sports is really good, right? Volleyball has consistently been top 25 in the country. They averaged over 3,000 fans this year. I think softball had one of the maybe 5 highest average attendances in the nation. And then
they
you look
sell
at
out they sell out reserve season tickets.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
there's a long waiting list for those.
And then obviously gymnastics, right, gets great crowds. And I mean, you see, especially the student section at all of those are usually really good, right? I mean, you saw the student section at gymnastics, and we'll get into it later, made a big impact in that Kentucky game.
Some of them made
very,
quite an impact.
very few, very few students that show up for women's basketball.
Hey, Matthew,
there's a sense of apathy around the program.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, a big reason why softball and gymnastics and volleyball are well attended is that those 3 teams are good. Like, they give people a reason to go watch them play. And this goes back to something I said a few episodes ago. Like, what's the pitch for taking time out of your day to watch Mizzou women's basketball? Obviously, it's a little better after Monday. But yeah, the amount of apathy surrounding the team is pretty high. So it sucks. Like, I wish more people went for the love of the game, but I don't blame them.
Yeah, I mean, it's justified to a degree. I mean, you look at both in terms of team quality and look at the promotions, look at these players are going out right into the student center. They're at the men's basketball games. You know, their stuff is getting put up on the video board, and they're throwing out T-shirts. It just feels like you don't really see Robin Pinchton and the team doing it that much. And that's the key to success for these other teams. They do this, and they get big student crowds. And that just doesn't happen with women's basketball.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. I said earlier they should enjoy this now because the next few games gonna be tough.
Brutal.
Yeah, that starts with at Texas.
Yep, they are
tomorrow.
Home Tennessee, home LSU, at Texas A&M. That one's pretty winnable. But then back-to-back home games against Oklahoma and Kentucky.
I mean, glad you got your win then, because it's going to be hard to find any going forward.
It might be a bit. Have either of you checked Warren Nolan to see if they're since the win to see if they are predicted to win any other games?
I would still say Arkansas.
Because Arkansas, they were like, it used to be that they were going to win. Then for a while, it was that they were going to lose. I will check that right now.
It's still probably Arkansas. They're not good at all.
Yeah, but I mean, like, we'll see. Because
also, I mean, Texas A&M beat Kentucky the other day.
So yes, as of right now, Warren Nolan is projecting Mizzou to lose out. So they're expecting Arkansas to actually pick up a couple more wins. So maybe not as bad as we thought they were.
They've got them above Florida and Georgia.
Yeah.
Wait,
That's the picture you should have taken a picture of, Matthew.
They have Arkansas above Florida and Georgia?
Yes. Because Georgia's
there you go. Yeah.
1-6 in the conference.
Thumbnail of the video right there.
He's got a great thumbnail face. But
Georgia, I can understand.
Yeah. They're also projecting Florida.
Okay, so Arkansas beat Auburn, which, like, cool. But
on the road, no less.
Their other SEC games have been total.
Oh no! Oh no!
Jinx it again. Got a problem.
Dang it! Let's pretend we know what he was saying. Oh yeah, you're right, Quentin. Yeah.
Brilliant thoughts on it.
Oh.
Great point.
That was the best analysis.
Great point.
I was like, why is everybody silent? I feel like I'm sharing some thoughts during analysis right now.
To yourself, you were sharing
myself.
This.
Yes. Wow,
you were cooking
this one.
He was cooking from.
Yeah.
You weren't gone for very long, so.
Okay. Well, I was basically going to say I don't think Arkansas has really proven much in SEC play, to where, like, I think the average person should think of them as better than Florida. Like, at least Florida.
At least Florida.
Man. This Arkansas team really is sabotaging us today.
Dylan, do you know what he was going to say? At least Florida.
Florida's back.
At least Florida.
I think God's a hog at heart. I don't know. Anyway, that's it for my spiel. That's surprising to hear, Dylan, that they have Arkansas over.
I think Hugh, you and I would both agree, though, that from our perspective, what we know, Mizzou, I don't know about outright favorites when they had to Fayetteville, but, like, that's another pretty good chance to pick up a win for this team. Like you've said, they do have the one win over Auburn, but other than that, been pretty non-competitive, even against some of the lower level teams. So while Arkansas, it's still on the road, it's a tough game to win. I still don't think that Mizzou, by any means, is destined to go 1-15. I think they have a chance to put together a couple of wins, especially that upset factor. I mean, on paper, they were nowhere near expected to beat Mississippi State. Like, this is a team that will play for the tournament, which is kind of crazy to think about. Mm-hmm. So you get a couple more of these sorts of home matchups. Like, obviously, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Oklahoma, very, very talented teams. But if they played like they did last night or 2 nights ago and don't have another player drop 40 on them, should be in the realm of possibility.
Quinn, go ahead. You can go move if you need to. We have wrapped up our women's basketball discussion. I was going to say the exact quote from the family was, "It would be worth a foul to slap her."
Physicality is an important part of the game, folks.
I was like, oh my God. And then I was trying to because somebody was sitting close by me and kind of leaning forward. And I was like, how can I type this? What if they see what I'm writing?
I had a
So I'm trying to be secretive about it just in case someone gets a whiff that I'm sharing their intimate thoughts.
I had a coach in 5th grade tell us if some girl's going up for a layup, that's an automatic 2 points. You don't know what she'll do at the line. Just throw an elbow. That was
did your head coach happen to play for the 90s Pistons or late 80s, early 90s Pistons?
I don't know.
This sounds a lot like the Jordan rules. Never let him get off the ground.
Yeah, pretty much. Also had a pet peeve.
All right.
I still do it when you miss free throws because and then I got mistaken in a boys free throw competition. I won the boys competition, not the girls competition. Thanks to my name, they couldn't check the little letter next to my name. So they saw just by the name.
You're that awesome.
Yep.
I played on a boys soccer team when I was a little kid for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was one other girl on the team, but we played with boys. I only played soccer for a year or two though, and I was maybe 8. I don't like running, so
sorry.
I guess I liked it then. Yeah, not the sport for Karen. Moving on. It is wrestling time. Tiger Styles on a win streak. What are some highlights from their recent win over West Virginia? Matthew?
So 2 meets, 2 wins. Mizzou up to 5-7, 4-1 in the Big 12. So they've gotten their wins. Number 23, Mizzou, taking on 20 West Virginia on Sunday. They get the 22-16 win. Starting off, Gage Walker loses a close one, Jet Strickenberger, but then Cade Moore. 2 times that Mizzou was on UFC Fight Pass this week. Moore wins the post-game belt for best wrestler both times. After the match, I asked him about it, and I said, wasn't expecting the second one, but it was nice. And he added, I like shiny things. So there you go. Cade Moore pinning him in the second period, started on bottom. Maddox was trying to return him to the mat, couldn't do it. Moore gets the reversal and then goes in for the pin. Josh Edmond beating Jordan Titus 5-2. That was a match that he lost in a heartbreaker last year in Morgantown. Really haunted him. He had a lot of opportunities, just couldn't get it done. Logan Joffrey, 149, 9-8 decision. He gets down 7-0 in the first 30 seconds of this match and makes the comeback. Jay Conway, really good wrestling there, 14-4 major decision. Offense was working for him really well. Maybe his best match this year that I've seen. KMC, 10-8 loss. Had a 6-2 lead. Really impressive wrestling against third wrestler Peyton Hall at 165 in the first period. But then Hall ended up coming back. And then 285, it was 16-16 heading into the final match. And Wolfram leading. He ends up going for an ankle pick on Jared Stoner and ends up getting injured as a result. Now, the tide of the match was starting to turn towards Stoner. And if action had continued, it looked like he was about to get a takedown. But we really don't know how the rest of that match would have gone, right? So not exactly how Mizzou wants to get the win. in this scenario, but they get the win.
A win's a
and
win.
continue, right? And they also beat Arizona State earlier this week. Looking at some of the highlights, just the offense really all week has stood out. Gage Walker had another close loss there, but it was to a defending national champion. Cade Moore, Majors, Julian Klebov, 13-3 for his first dual meet win of the season. 17-8 major decision for Josh Edmond. Jay Conway getting the win. Cam Steed facing number 17, Nico Ruiz. Steed, that was his return from injury, and he dominated. In the first minute and a half or so, I think that he had an 11-0 lead. He got a takedown almost right off the bat, and then he got 2 4-point near falls. On working from top, Ruiz gets injured and isn't able to continue, but that was headed very clearly towards at least a tech fall, if not a pin, so it didn't really affect the match. And then something worth noting, Joel Milan bumping up to 174. He's been asked to do a lot this year, not necessarily the role that he was expecting, but he gets a big win, 11-1 major decision while bumping up. That was a big outcome for that one, and Mizzou wins that contest 21-15 over Arizona State.
Nice. I was thinking I didn't mention that one because I thought, didn't we record Thursday last week?
It might have been.
So then I was like, maybe we talked about that already. So that's what I was like.
I didn't think that we had, and if we already have, I apologize for.
Oh no, it's totally
fine. So that's what happened in Mizzou wrestling the last week. So gaining some momentum heading into the final 3 duels of the regular season. It does not get any easier from here. Back-to-back days, they're going to be in just my absolute favorite state of Oklahoma. Not. Anyways, like I said, different story. Saturday, they're going to be at Oklahoma in Norman. That's going to be at 7 p.m. And then they're going to be in ESPN Plus the next day when they go into the belly of the beast, Gallagher-Iba. In Stillwater, they face number 3 Oklahoma State on Sunday, 2 p.m. There's one more home meet this year. That's going to be 13th ranked Iowa State. That's going to be on UFC Fight Pass. It's going to be February 22nd, a Saturday at noon in Columbia.
Since it will technically be February 1st, when they are in Oklahoma, do we know if Keegan will be back?
He will not. So that was a question I asked. Or I don't know if I asked it, but either way in the press conference, Coach Smith confirming he and O'Toole, Colton Hawks will both be out for the Oklahoma trip. Keegan likely to make his return against Iowa State. Colton Hawks, that's a little bit of a different story. Still not sure if he'll be back for Iowa State or if he will wait till Big 12s. And then also they did confirm that the plan is to redshirt Aiden Sinclair for the rest of the year. So it looks like it'll be Jesse Cassat for the remainder of the season at 197.
Okay. Good to know. So I don't feel like they have a shot at Oklahoma State.
No.
But do they have a shot at Oklahoma?
That one is probably going to be a little close. Let's just take a look at the rankings here. They've certainly been doing better. They got Logan Joffrey back from injury. Bless you. Dylan just sneezed in the background. That got caught by the podcast. But looking around here, 125, they've got a guy, Antonio Lorenzo, ranked 28th. So that's going to be kind of a toss-up. 133, Cleveland Belton, ranked 23rd. So it's a matter of, do we get the Cade Moore that we saw last week? Do we get the Cade Moore that we saw at the beginning of the season? Because the Cade Moore we saw last week can absolutely win that match. The Cade Moore we saw at the beginning of the season, that's a different story. 141, they're going to have the advantage. Josh Edmond, Moshe Schwartz, both of them are ranked in the top 20, but Edmond is the higher-ranked wrestler. They've got Willie McDougald at 149. Logan Joffrey has a potential there. really seen him wrestle this season or last season with Logan Joffrey, I'd say that's a really competitive match, maybe even favoring him. But this season, we haven't necessarily seen that quite yet. So with a lot of these, it's looking like Mizzou can be competitive, but they're going to need a lot of things to go their way. And you're also still missing guys at 174, 184. And obviously, Jesse Cassat has been doing his best, but just the results haven't been there for him at 197.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at 3 matches that are usually penciled in as a loss for Mizzou. That's going to be a lot for them to overcome. That's going to be really tough. So it's definitely one that favors Oklahoma. It wouldn't be the upset of the century if Mizzou won by any means, but it's not one that they're going to expect to win entering that.
Okay. Thank you for your honest opinion on that. That's good to know. Moving on, we have a major track and field and soccer announcement. Everyone should bow down to Audrey J. Walton, because that lady, she brought tears to my eyes this morning. So if you don't know what this is about, you should check out mutigers.com, because she made a ginormous gift. It's a very technical amount there. A generous philanthropic gift from longtime benefactor Audrey J. Walton to fund significant enhancements to the track and field and soccer stadium, which is in her name. It is one of the 10 largest gifts in Mizzou Athletics history, and the largest dedicated to support Olympic sports. Olympic sports. Not football. Olympic sports. Matthew sent over the announcement this morning, and I seriously gasped. I was like, oh my God. Just so, what does this mean for these programs? Abigail's not here, obviously. But Dylan, what does this mean for soccer?
I mean, yeah, to the shock of absolutely nobody, soccer and Coach Golan was very ecstatic about the news. Audrey J. Walton Stadium, it's fine. Like, the current state that it's in now, it is a soccer stadium, but especially on the track side, this is going to do a lot of good.
Fine-ish.
But I think that the improved just everything around the stadium, because again, the pitch isn't going to change that much, but the better stands, the higher seating capacity, the better locker rooms, the maybe improved concessions, hopefully a better press box, selfishly. But
how about a new scoreboard? That thing looks like it's about to blow down in a heavy wind.
The gift just covers the field itself and the track. I don't know that it includes any funding for the stadium itself, the grandstand, press box, etc. But Mizzou would be wise to make that investment at the same time, because it's getting up there in age, right? Like I said, the press box, not anything to write home about by any means. And the scoreboard, like you said, looks like it could fall over pretty much any moment. So
it looks like the first scoreboard ever created.
Yeah. They're going to be making a lot of changes. There's going to be a lot of, build surrounding this. And eventually, probably within the next 10 years, they're going to need to do this anyway. So why not do it now and do it all at the same time?
I mean, the obvious benefit as well is just recruiting. The better that you make your facilities, especially, I mean, it's the SEC. Arkansas has got some incredible facilities. Texas, the list goes on and on. These are programs that not only are good at soccer, but have put a sizable amount of resources into being good at soccer. So if these programs want to succeed, they have to be willing to spend some money. And it's, again, great to see that sort of investment from Audrey J. Walton, who's already done so much for this program, just continuing to double down on this investment. And again, you hope that the university can continue to follow up, and hopefully this continues to pay dividends years down the road.
Yeah.
I think when you look at this Will to Win initiative that Mizzou Athletics has been pushing for a little while now, a big part of why it was spearheaded is because I believe the administration felt like they were behind a lot of SEC teams in terms of something like facilities. One of the things, and sorry to bring up football, but like when they did a full breakdown, they sent that email to season ticket holders explaining the Will to Win initiative, including the north end zone renovations. They put up a graph of, I believe it was total revenue. And Mizzou was definitely in the bottom half of it. And so I think this is great, especially because there are a handful of Mizzou facilities that have needed some upgrading for a long time. And the soccer stadium, along with the outdoor track, has been one of them. And I also look at not even the SEC, but like a lot of these really good ACC schools. For example, like I know North Carolina has kind of been in a class of its own in terms of women's soccer for a very long time, but those fields are nice. Like they're really nice. And obviously, if I'm a recruit, that could be me playing on the best fields I've ever played on.
Yeah.
That's definitely a pretty strong pull factor. So I think Mizzou is very happy that Audrey Walton decided to make the donation.
I mean, even look at the Big Ten. You know, you look at Indiana, right? They've got a phenomenal soccer facility. Northwestern, with the new football stadium they're building, their new football stadium is their current. Their temporary football stadium is built on the soccer stadium.
Yeah, and it's gorgeous.
It's a top-notch facility, literally right on Lake Michigan.
I think too, I mean,
top-tier facilities there.
Like growing up, I was a big soccer player, and you see like all the U.S. women's national team players, like for Stanford or UCLA, like Quentin said, North Carolina. So you see these stadiums, and that's almost what you expect when you like go to see other schools like the SEC and see those
SEC school.
Yeah, it just means more, right? Like you're expecting these stadiums to be on that same line. And I remember the first time I ever saw our soccer field, I was like, oh, okay. All right. Like it's underwhelming. And I think too, like not even just with soccer, but with everything track's doing right now, and to then go see their outdoor track, it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't hosted a meet since when? 2021?
Yeah, Abigail's post today said 2021. They haven't hosted an SEC championship since 2013. So it's been a minute.
That's a good point. Not only do you make it better for prospective Mizzou players and current Mizzou players, you also give yourself a better opportunity to host more national events,
which means more revenue.
Yes, exactly. I think that's a big reason. That's a big reason why you're seeing a lot of these NFL teams building these giant, not just football stadiums, but trying to build like entertainment districts along with football stadiums too, like Chicago, like Tennessee with the Titans. The Ted Leonsis, the owner of the Washington Capitals and the Washington Wizards, was pining for an entertainment district in Northern Virginia. That fell through. Professional sports are staying in Washington, D.C. But I think a lot of the pull of making these new complexes is to put yourself in position to host not just your own sporting events.
Yeah.
That means more revenue for you all. And so I think Mizzou already has the geographics for it. It's pretty essential to everybody, maybe not in the SEC, but at least nationally. And so, I think this was a very welcome donation, and I'm happy for everybody involved.
Yeah. So I'll share the two things that the coaches said for the press release, and then we'll get to our question of the day. So head track and field coach Brett Halter said, Audrey Walton's commitment to Mizzou track and field has been transformational over the years. Her belief in our student athletes fuels their drive to achieve greatness, both on and off the track. We are deeply grateful for her vision and her leadership. And then Stephanie Golan said This investment in our facilities will greatly enhance our team's home field experience and will have a lasting impact on our program's ability to compete in the SEC. So that leads me to today's question of the day. So in light of the recent news that she gave a crap load of money, imagine that you are a millionaire or a billionaire philanthropist. What would you spend your money on Mizzou Olympic sports? It has to be an Olympic sports thing. And why? Who wants to go first?
I'll go.
Yes,
That's
Rory.
fine. Well, I did want to say too, Karen, when you said that text earlier, all I was thinking about was Iron Man with Tony Stark and his Playboy millionaire, or what is it? Genius millionaire Playboy philanthropist. That's what I was thinking of. No, but a renovation that I think is also desperately needed is to Taylor Stadium. I think, and it's right across from the soccer and track fields too there. And it's kind of disheartening just to see what it is. And I think not only standing alone it's disheartening to see, but again, compared to the rest of the conference, Mizzou is not only behind in various aspects in baseball, but Taylor Stadium, it's a big one that we're behind the rest of the conference in.
Matthew, you want to go next? Because I know you're going to say at least part of the same thing.
Yeah. I would not renovate Taylor Stadium. I would tear it down. And I would build a new facility.
Yes. Well, yeah, fully agree.
Because it's a really bad place for a baseball stadium. It's generally not a good idea to put a baseball stadium in possibly the windiest spot in the entire city. And that's what Mizzou did. I would move it closer to softball. You look at some of the outer lots for basketball where the current practice facility, or well, not facility, but it's basically just a big concrete slab that Marching Mizzou uses for practice. I think that would be a logical spot for a new baseball field. The problem with Taylor, looking at it, it's a fine power conference baseball facility. It wouldn't be in the top half of the ACC. It would probably be about average for the Big Ten. Probably a little bit below average for the former Pac-12. But it's just honestly a little bit of a joke compared to the rest of the SEC. I mean, you look at Dudy Noble in Mississippi State is probably the best in the country, and it is a AAA level baseball facility. Florida's baseball field that they just built is nicer than a lot of minor league parks. So it's very clear that Mizzou has far less investment in baseball than any other, really school in the SEC. And that's something that you see across some other sports as well, those being soccer. Obviously, the next thing that I would focus on is replacing urns. I would have absolutely loved for them to preserve it. You look at, for example, what Nebraska's done, right, with Devaney. That used to be their main basketball facility. They've done a phenomenal renovation, cut down the capacity, and it is a world-class, or at least, in terms of collegiate athletics, Olympic sports facility. But if Mizzou wanted to do that, they had to do it a decade ago, and I really think that their window is past at this point, to the point where they're going to get as much use as they can out of Hearns before they basically have no choice but to tear it down. I think that you would be much better served with a 55 to 7,500 seat Olympic sports arena serving wrestling, gymnastics, volleyball, maybe even women's basketball.
Indoor track, because they can remove that nice new track.
Well, and here's the thing. So you put the new arena where Hearns is. Baseball moves. That opens up a spot. That's where you put a dedicated indoor track and field facility. Because that way, and I've said it before, it makes sense because programs are grouped in a more logical way. And this way, the indoor track facilities are right next to the outdoor track facilities. And so there's not a disconnect between the two. that is long term, I think, what makes the most sense for Mizzou as an athletics department to do.
So, and I'll go. Mine is obviously get rid of Hearns and replace it with a multi-sport, smaller, state-of-the-art facility. Give me DRF's vision. Not only was I sad when she left being a woman athletic director when there's not that many of them, but when she left out the door went all her plans to help the little guy.
We
And
never.
I just really, I want a new facility, especially because the way that Hearns is set up, like I saw this firsthand when my parents were in town. Like that is not a safe place for anyone who has any sort of injury history or is older, has bad knees. Like my mom is in great shape, like infinitely better shape than I am. But she is, and she will agree with this, she is not the youngest anymore. But walking down those stairs, she and my dad, like we tried to go, I wanted him to go sit on the floor for volleyball. And we got about down 4 stairs and then we're like, nope, can't do it. Because there's no railing. It's dangerous. They need to fix that. They need to address that because it was so upsetting. It was so upsetting just to like, you watch people try to get down those stairs walking sideways, basically, or like holding on to the people that are on the edge of the aisle to get down the stairs. Like that is unacceptable. It is unacceptable. They need to fix that.
Even at like Mizzou Arena, I wouldn't call it like the most accessible place in the world. But I'm happy because like a lot of the wheelchair basketball guys go to those games, and a lot of the reason they're actually able to get in the arena is because it's accessible in the first place.
Yeah.
And the Hearns is, yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about that. It is a very unsafe arena. So and look,
no
like
railings. The stairs are steep.
Yeah, I'll be sad.
Yeah, it is like Rory's doing. Like
I'll be sad. I'll be sad when it gets torn down, just because like a lot of great Mizzou history has happened in that building.
Oh, yeah.
But you got to recognize when it's time to go, especially with an athletic facility. And it's been time for it to go for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, it's still such a great atmosphere, you know, just because of the way it was built. You get 6,500, 7,000 fans in there, and it sounds like 15, right? But at the same time, you can replicate some of that by building a smaller facility, because the noise will still be contained. And it's just going to be a long-term benefit to the program. Like I said, Hearns is a phenomenal place, right? It will always be a special part of Mizzou athletics history, but they should have recognized that earlier and done something to preserve it for the long term. Like I said, I think the window is just passed where they can really, save it for the long term. But I was going to say, at DRF, they were building up to announce a massive athletic facilities master plan. She leaves, and we've never heard anything of it since, right? It is a mystery. It's like the treasure from National Treasure. It's there. Like the Gates family knows it's there, and they're chasing it, and they can't find it.
It's in Washington, D.C. I will find it.
It's got to be out there somewhere, right? But it's vanished. We don't know what it had. We don't know what they were going to propose.
Well, we knew there was a plan for a new facility because Mason Arneson told me that much when he was the gymnastics SID and told me about the removable track, because he did gymnastics and track, and that it was, so then when, and he said when, not if, when they build a new facility, then they can put the track in there. So it was coming. And I remember at the beginning of gymnastics season last year, Shannon told us at like a donor thing, like, there's huge things coming for the Olympic sports. And then she was gone, and then no one ever heard anything about it again. So Quentin, what was your what you would want to spend the money on?
Let's build a hockey rink.
Oh,
Why did I not think of that?
Let's
That's
build an on-campus hockey rink. I don't quite
There's
know
plans.
how the logistics would work, but and look, Mizzou Club hockey isn't even like a Division I sport yet.
Hold on, I have many thoughts after you. I have many thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think having a hockey rink on campus, even just for like recreational use, just for like kids to go and skate whenever, I think
charge some admission, make some money.
Yeah.
Don't give it to Jeff City.
And I mean, look, like, I feel bad for Mizzou Club hockey. Like, they're good, but they play all their home games in Jefferson City, which is kind of a trek. And I know Missouri isn't exactly the Northeast when it comes to hockey, but like, having a hockey team on campus, that's pretty good. It's fun. It's really fun.
I mean, there are hockey fans in Missouri.
Yes.
Like,
a lot of
Blues fans and other teams, Rory.
Look, Missouri could actually make a lot of sense as a D1 hockey program, and here's why. There are other programs, right? Big Ten, obviously. You have North Dakota, some other schools, Denver, among others that are all around you, right? Easy to travel to. You're also a couple of states away from the absolute gold mine of hockey talent in the United States, Minnesota. You've got North Dakota, Michigan, right? Their hockey program having a ton of success. There are a ton of people from Michigan who are getting into it. Wisconsin is an absolute gold mine. Illinois has produced some phenomenal talent over the years. All that is right there, and you could tap into that. Now, will this ever happen? No, right? Olympic sports are shrinking, sadly, with the way that college athletics is going, not expanding. But if Mizzou was ever to add a program, hockey would make a lot of sense.
All right, I'm going to go into my spiel now. I was their sideline reporter for this season. I worked a ton of their home games. Unfortunately, they're not home at all this semester. You can't catch a single game in Jeff City this semester. They are done. Unless playoffs kind of switches that around. It's really up in the air. They have been advocating for a rink here for a very long time. There were meetings earlier this year where the captain and other players went, tried to show this to the board, why they should do it. What I've heard from them is that it very well could happen, but it's going to happen when we're gone. It's not going to be a fast-paced project by any means, which is really unfortunate because the team is very good. Last year, they did not lose a single home game. This year, I want to say it was very minimal. Maybe I saw 2 losses, if that. They're a very talented group. They moved from ACHA D3 to D2 this year, which is a huge jump. And if you look at their games, they've held the competition pretty well. So it's frustrating. I think hockey rink, how I didn't think of that, and I worked with them all year. Really,
I mean, that technically wasn't even in like the parameters because
but it's smart. The drive to Jeff City
it'd be an Olympic sport.
It is an Olympic sport. It's also a shithole of a rink.
Before now we're gonna get an explanation.
Sorry. I know.
I like it.
Like I made it a goal for myself to like not have
channel your inner Nate Edwards.
It
let it out.
It hurts. Like the team, I mean, what they pour into this as a club sport, it's funded by them. They're putting this on. They're going to nationals. They're putting on this performance, and they're playing at a place where these bleachers hold not that many people. It smells disgusting. I get that every hockey rink smells disgusting, but like they're putting on bake sales when you leave to try and get fans to like help them out. They're selling jerseys, they're selling merch. I mean, they are pouring their hearts into this, and they're playing in a place where people can't get to. It's not a nice place to play. It really ain't.
Matthew's so upset he left.
Yeah, you tell him, Matthew.
Rory, I will say, being a former club sport player
Yes.
here at Mizzou. Oh,
Yes,
wow,
Matthew.
that's
Oh,
cool.
Yes.
Wow, that's really cool. But like being a former club sport player here at Mizzou, I was on the club ultimate frisbee team my freshman year, so 2 years ago, and it is a very big commitment. You have to put a lot of time into it if you want to be successful. Like we were fortunate enough to be able to go to Oklahoma and Wisconsin and Texas for tournaments. And in order to do that, like you do need some money to do that.
Yeah. They had to set up a GoFundMe to go to nationals last year.
Yeah.
Where they literally took like second. Like it's a shame, honestly.
Yeah.
And regardless of Mizzou or not, the fact that a city of 100,000 people doesn't have one single hockey rink is a little crazy to me. I mean, there are towns.
there is an ice rink off of Discovery Parkway now.
It's part of the Kitchen Grill and Games. They built it recently.
My friend
But
told me
not
about it.
necessarily a public one, not as big a one. But even so, like there are towns of 20, 30,000 people around me. There's a facility. They have at least 2 outdoor rinks, at least 1 indoor, if not 2. Roy may know the Niles Hockey Center.
I live right next to MPIA. I don't know if you've ever been there, but
I don't
my
think
high
I
school had
have.
its own
I
hockey
had a cousin, I think, who actually played there.
it's a
Yeah, but anyways, I mean, if small towns like that have one, if not multiple, hockey rinks, a town of over 100,000 should have them. That is easily accessible and available for public use.
And it doesn't even have to be on campus.
no.
Like it can be like 10, 15 minutes away. Like my high school, our hockey team played their games at Cabin John Ice Arena. I know that means absolutely nothing to all of you because none of you are from Maryland. But that was like 10, 15 minutes away from where everybody lived.
Oh, I've been there so many times.
It's in the same facility as the Bethesda Big Train, the team I did baseball games for this summer. It's in the same like complex. So I guess that's something. But I mean, it was better than 30 minutes, which is what you would have to drive to get to Jefferson City.
Yeah.
It was a lot easier. And like when we would go to games, like it's pretty fun, like really fun. And I would love for Mizzou club hockey's sake to be able to have that experience because, as you said, Rory, they put a lot.
So much. I mean, they're going out there like it's a 30-minute drive. Their practices are at 9 p.m. 9, 10 p.m.
Oh yeah, and we also didn't even mention the fact that hockey hours are so weird.
Yes. And they're still student athletes. Like then they've got to get up and like they're not coming home until midnight. I mean, it's insane. My town of like, as Quentin said, I'm from a town of 50,000 people. The MPIA Sportsplex is right behind my house. My hockey team, it's St. Viator, Notre Dame, Prospect, like all the public schools around me, all pitched in for this. There's a massive turf football field outside. There's 3 rinks on the inside. My team was second in state in high school and has this massive facility. They've got an upstairs for the athletes to like study and do homework and then go back to practice. Like it was a culture shock for me to then work these games. And I'm like, guys, what are you doing? But they do. Like I said, they're putting in so much work, and it's a club sport. I get it, but like ACHA club sport to be a D2 level is crazy. The competition is insane.
So I mean, there are high schools in Minnesota with insane facilities that blow what Mizzou club hockey has out of the water, and that's no disrespect to Mizzou club hockey because, like you said, they're doing the best that they can, but that's just how it is.
Dylan, we didn't hear from you. Not about hockey, unless yours is also hockey, and then we'll move on to our another.
Sorry, guys.
No, it's fine.
Very
it's a good conversation.
Yeah, I will say the hockey rink is a very good idea. Mine that I'm very partial towards is I would personally like an individual swim center for the athletes. The one they have in the rec is very nice. It's kind of a pain to get around in. It's very like tightly conjoined. It's kind of hard to get into at times. It's like this little offshoot area. It's a totally nice facility. The big board they have in there is fantastic. The overall setup that they bring out for the events is pretty good. I would personally love to be its own little thing, and who knows, you could probably attach a hockey rink on the other side of it. I mean, that's what my hometown one used to do. Half of it was swim, half of it was hockey.
Oh, we had a place like that in St. Louis at the Recplex. It was half hockey and half swimming.
I think a facility like that would be great for the university. It would be great for all local high school kids, and just again, a great way to build community and promote those two sports within the city of Columbia and draw some of those larger audiences.
Nice. I like that. Thank you. That was a good one to end this discussion on.
Hi, my name's Abigail. I'm the track and field and cross country beat reporter, and I am a little bit disappointed to be missing what is no doubt one of the happiest episodes of Majority Rules we've ever recorded. But I'm going to try to keep the positivity up with my recap from the Bob Thiel Invitational. So first of all, I got there about 30 minutes before Sam Ennis broke the indoor men's weight throw program record. That's right, he threw 22.98 meters. He threw on his fifth attempt right beneath the banner, boasting the prior record, and in front of Chris Rohr, who has held the record since 2009. So it was definitely a bit of a storybook moment. And Sam kind of chuckled and said that he was excited to dethrone the prior record holder. My biggest takeaway from interviewing him was that we have not seen Sam at his best even yet. He definitely was alluding to there's more in the tank and more strategy that he wants to put together for SECs, where he hopes to podium, and NCAAs. To qualify for indoors at NCAAs, you just have to be top 16 in your event, and right now his throw seats him at 5th in the nation. I also got to watch the women's indoor mile, where a new distance runner took first place. Allison Newman actually upset Anakin and Rahel Brumell, and she broke away in the 1200 with about 1,200 meters to go. She was super controlled, calm, let them set the pace, and then you could just tell that she knew that she had another gear in her and had the courage to take it out past her teammates who usually pace her at meets. So it was really cool. I got to follow up with her afterward. Sent her some questions, and she gave some really, really exciting responses. She said, quote, "I have no expectations going into this race," and she just kind of wanted to see what she could do. She said she didn't have anything to lose, and when she could tell that Rahel maybe wasn't pushing the pace in that final leg and she had a little bit more left in the tank, she knew that she maybe had the possibility to set a PR. She ended up winning the race in 4:43.5, and then also offering Rahel a coffee or maybe even dinner, because she definitely knew that she was grateful for the fact that Rahel had paced that for her. She has a really interesting story. She had an ACL tear, then had a stress fracture earlier in her career, and I'm excited to share a little bit more about her journey to getting here, and hopefully this is another successful season for her with some more PRs in the books. All right, next up, we've got the Dr. Rick McGuire Invitational, and expect the return of the Jumps crew. I will bring you all the live updates on Twitter with a recap afterward. Back to the crew.
Now we're to swim and dive, Rory.
Woo! Your favorite fans from the
It's
gymnastics.
like we knew it was going to segue into that.
Perfect. They said, Rory, stop yapping about hockey. Move on here to actually talk about it. But yeah, your favorite fans from the gymnastics meet. I don't know if you guys saw the pictures of the swim team out this previous weekend. That was pretty good. But swims, they're still off until the SEC championships late this February. Still trying to work on getting an interview about more details of what's to come with that. But dive is not done. Oh yeah, here we go. Look at that. Look at those fans going all out. Walk going. That is crazy. Who came up with that idea? That's what I want to know.
I don't know, but it is so amazing.
One of them went, guys, I have the best idea.
Well, it came from, they did it at volleyball.
Oh yeah, no, I know that they've been doing it for a while. Yeah. But we got
So I don't think they've done it at a gymnastics meet before. I think it came about this time because Jackie Turpak was at that volleyball game when they took off the layers of clothing with every point scored. And I said something to her about it, and she's like, oh, we've got to make this happen for gymnastics. So I don't know if it happened because of that or that, like, she was like, oh, let's do this.
We should be thanking you, Karen.
I don't think so.
But diving is not done yet. They are going to Colorado Springs this weekend, starting tomorrow, actually, to compete in the Air Force Diving Invitational. They will face Denver, Wyoming, Colorado Mesa, Northern Colorado, Air Force, BYU, and California Baptist. So quite a lot of competition for them. They're sending 4 women and 4 men, Mia Henninger, Megan Jolly, Olivia Little, Gabrielle San Juan Carmona. 4 names from the women that you hear pretty frequently. And then for the men, no shocker here, you've got Derek Colbert, Deacon Colbert, Collier Dyer, and Tommaso Zanella. Again, all 4 of them, big up there. Collier Dyer named to SEC Athlete of
Bless
the
you. Bless you.
Huge props to him. Competition starts tomorrow. Prelims will be at 11:30. I believe you can also watch all of this on YouTube. Possibly.
Yeah, I think I saw that too. It was going to be on like Air Force's YouTube or something like that.
Yes. So men's 3 meter is tomorrow, and women's 1 meter is tomorrow. So you'll have prelims early and then finals later in the day. Friday is flip-flopped with that. So men's 1 meter, women's 3 meter. And then Saturday is platform diving for both. I think, and maybe I am a little biased, but Missouri should do extremely well this weekend. Just their scores have been improving consistently. Collier Dyer, again, the SEC weekly honors, which I mentioned, he's just been an absolute stud. I mean, the points for him just continuing to climb. I feel like every time Karen's updating that spreadsheet. BYU, I mean, like, these teams are competitive. Do not get me wrong. I just think Mizzou's going to have a bit of a competitive edge. You look at who they've faced this year, teams like Purdue with a diving squad like that, bringing in just a little bit more talent. There's also a couple, like Colorado Mesa University is a D2 school. Nothing against them at all. I think the competition is just a little bit different than what Missouri is used to, which could be used to their advantage.
Collier and one of the Colbert brothers are national team members.
Yes.
So like you expect more.
Oh yeah.
Out of people who are national team members.
Like they're good, I guess. What do you want to say? No, but they are talented. I just think that across this lineup of teams that they should walk away with a handful of wins. They walked away with wins last weekend in the Missouri kind of try meet there with wins in the 1 meter and 3 meter in both respectively. And I think they should be able to repeat that this weekend. But I was looking at notes for this earlier, trying to figure out, just like score wise. And all I'm thinking about is how Air Force is going to be at this invitational. And I just think back to over break, how Army beat Navy. I still think about that. I really do.
Our random sidetrack of the podcast. We get one every episode. This time it was children's literature.
And most of the time it's my fault. So
it's okay,
hey, Matt. That means you read.
True.
So
it's part of your charm.
Shout out James and the Giant Peach.
Yes.
Matilda, one of my favorite books ever.
Loved that book.
All right, so that's probably it for the swim dive. Tennis.
Yes. tennis this weekend. They will be against SLU. Hold on, I got to pull up my other document for this, guys. Don't fear. My computer's been so annoying all day. Why? Why?
I found out today I'm going to be getting a new work computer, apparently. That's
Ooh.
exciting. But then I always am like, I always cover my work laptop in stickers. Probably not supposed to do that. But now I'm like, I'm going to have to move the stickers to another computer. Hopefully they all survive.
That's very will to win of the J School for them to provide you with a better working conditions.
Yeah, I haven't had this one for very long. Now the battery is iffy, obviously. Like I have to plug it in or it will die.
I mean, hey, that's just the new era of collegiate athletics.
So sorry.
Right.
Don't mean to divert your everything just finally loaded. So yes, this guys, I'm off my game today. So yes, this weekend on Saturday, tennis will be at home against SLU, a little bit of a Missouri matchup. Looking at SLU's schedule versus Missouri, I think Missouri should have a chance to do pretty well this weekend. SLU was swept by Northern Illinois previously 4-0. Meanwhile, Missouri just beat Northern Illinois in a doubleheader last weekend. So it should be a good matchup. Again, I think this team is very talented. I talked about last week, freshman Zoe Lazar is one that keeps popping out every now and then. So talent to watch this weekend, but Missouri should pull away with a big win.
Yeah, I'll be anxious to hear your updates on how it goes next week. Are you going to go?
I'm planning on it. Hopefully. We will see. I got to figure all that out for sure. Oh, you'd think being a week back, I'd be like ready and back into things, and I'm still all over the place.
All right. So, closing the in-season sports updates. Gymnastics! The Tigers beat the Wildcats in the Battle of the Big Cats for the first time since the pandemic. It was glorious. The vibes were immaculate. I always say that because I listened to Jalen Brunson on a podcast when he played for the Dallas Mavericks. He was on the Old Man 3 JJ Redick's podcast at the time, and he was talking about how like the vibes of the team at the time were immaculate. And I just always found that like so fun. So I try to incorporate when I think that the vibes are indeed immaculate, I will mention it. And I was not the only one that thought like the people sitting around me were all talking about like, oh, the vibes of this meet are like really good. Like one of my friends works for ESPN. She mentioned it. Like it wasn't the most highly attended meet. I mean, it was the exact same time as the Chiefs playoff game. So I'm sure a lot of people were either at the Chiefs game or at home watching the Chiefs game. So it wasn't one of the most highly attended meets. Like there were less than 2,500 people there, but it was so loud. It was crazy. It was exciting. Like the energy in that building was just like off the charts. Yeah, it was great. They won. They put together 4 complete rotations like I had been asking and begging for. They hit the 197 barrier. Also, that I was like, you have to do this to be considered like one of the best teams. So they got a 197-2-0, which brought them up to now 9th in the country. They got, so apparently some sickness kind of went through the team. So there were some different lineups than what we were anticipating. So like they scored a season high on beam without 2 of their normal beamers. Amari didn't go on beam this time. Not really sure why, because she was on other things, and somebody else was missing on beam too. Now I'm coughing. Kira Burns was out sick, so she wasn't on bars. The bars lineup was completely different. They did really well. So the beam had their season high score, and all three other apparatuses all had their second highest score. Helen got a 10 from one judge, but a 995 from the other one. I don't know. I think she deserved a 10. Jocelyn Moore had a 9.9 on vault to anchor vault and win that event. I tweeted at the time, like, give her a 10, damn it. Because I was like, I don't see any deductions. Like, she stuck it cold. It looked even better than the 9.975 that she got the week before. And I'm like, I don't understand why she didn't get a 10. And let alone that, why she got a 9.9. It's like, this is baffling to me. Raina Light filled in on 2 events, and she was in a lot of events last year, but she's kind of like almost like the substitute almost this year for when other people are out. So she filled in and led off 2 events, had 2 season best scores. That was awesome. Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. It was so much fun. It was the most fun recap to write. The press conference was great. Shannon thought that the vault were kind of low scored. He thought that they did better than what they actually received on their scores. So now looking ahead, the Tigers now have 4 people on beam who have a 9.875 or higher score. So 4 out of the 6. So that's huge. They have a whole rotation of floor. So 6 people on floor that have 9.875s or higher, and 4 of them have 9.9s or higher. 5 of the 6 on bars have 9.875s or higher, and 3 have 9.9s or higher. And then vault is still coming along. We've got Amari, or not Amari, I keep saying Amari, Jocelyn with the 9.975, and then everybody else is under a 9.9. So that one's still coming along. Matthew, I know that you were there in attendance, sitting in the very confined media space down from me. And I know that this was your first live experience of Mizzou gymnastics that you actually got to watch, since Beauty at the Beast, you were kind of looking at wrestling, since that's your job. What did you think?
Well, first of all, performance, like putting together a complete performance, pretty much all their wins. And I mean, you can tell, right? This team is a talent. Clear from the very beginning, this is a stacked team, and they've been putting together some fantastic individual event performances, but kind of together, and they finally. But I think you effect on floor. I mean, that's where this team thrives, right? There are no, and the student every stick, especially every successful on floor, just got more and more enthusiastic, and the energy continued to build. And in a moment where they've got the lead, right, they can pull off the upset. It's a high stress, high pressure environment. That really helped the team, and it really kind of boosted them to finish strong in the way they did to secure that win.
Yeah. I love the floor team. So incredible. Yeah, it was a complete all-around performance, and we know that they can do better. Like, they've been better than that on floor. They're still, so like Elise Tisler was back for the first time this season on vault, and she got a 9.85. Well, she got a 9.975 at Towson. So we know that that's a good score to build off of. So she'll just, the more that she does it, the better it'll get. And there's still other people involved that we know are capable of scoring higher scores. Same thing with bars. At the Beauty and the Beast meet, they scored 49.425. So we know that they can get there. So it was awesome. They don't beat Kentucky hardly ever. And Kentucky didn't have a bad meet. Mizzou just was, I said one of the keys to the meet was like to attack. Like from the start, you have to attack. And that is exactly what they did. They did not take their foot off the gas the entire time. And they were leading from the first rotation through the last one. At no point did Kentucky get any closer. They just got further away. So that's really great. And then that's heading into LSU. So they go to LSU on Friday for the Friday Night Heights on the SEC network at 7:30. LSU is coming off of a sub 197 performance at Arkansas, kind of unlike LSU, but just to say, they're going to be at home in front of their crazy fans or
Little
people that Olivia Dunn lovers.
I was going to say,
act like fools.
do you have some thoughts on her comment?
Oh, I have thoughts.
You were
I
the first
actually
person I
started
saw
writing
when
part
I
of it
saw
in
that.
my preview, my thoughts. It makes me irate that she said the things that she did.
I saw her post and I was like, oh, I have to ask Karen about this.
Yeah. So she basically said that people are coming to gymnastics meets because they're not doling out 10s as much. So we're just supposed to give 10s to people that don't deserve them? Like,
And it was after LSU had like
people-
the most poorly scored meet too.
right. Like people don't go to gymnastics meets to see 10. Like,
No.
that's not why you're going there. And her fans are only going there to see her. And they are not, and her fans are not even gymnastics fans. Like they are Olivia Dunn fans.
I also like to point out that even if they did go back to the old way of scoring, Olivia Dunn would not be one of the gymnasts to receive one of those.
No.
She's just got the name value.
Yes.
Also, like speaking of value, if more 10s were handed out, that would literally decrease the value
Yes.
of the
Yes.
10, which
That
is
was a
what
lot of
made
people's points too.
Helen Who's 10 the other day so awesome. It was like, wow, they actually all thought it was flawless, and that's pretty rare.
Yeah.
And so I think having, even though like some routines may deserve 10s in some people's eyes, I think a positive part of it is that it is a really cool thing when it happens. And I think giving out more 10s would decrease that
They're not
feeling.
handing them out like candy. Yeah.
I feel like you're insulting the athletes at a point too, when you're just kind of giving it to because as Quentin said, like they're so rare. It's such a individual accomplishment. Like, and if you're just handing them out, it's like, it doesn't even matter.
Like,
Well, and when they're handed out when they don't deserve it, those athletes know. They
Mhm.
know whether or not what they did actually deserved a 10 or not.
that's also one of my qualms with the NBA dunk contest. Like, if I were ever a judge, I would reserve 10s for like actually one of the greatest dunks I have ever seen with my own eyes. And I think it is I have a lot of thoughts on the process of the NBA dunk contest, which I'll save for another conversation. But I feel like 10s are given out pretty liberally in that, and I think it decreases its value. Obviously, like perfect 50s are still pretty special, but I think the threshold for somebody being given a perfect 10 by an individual should be heightened a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I understand it.
It
It's a
should
little-
be hard to get perfection.
Yeah, and I understand like it's difficult because I think with both like basketball and gymnastics, with the advent of the internet, And like with the advent of people specializing, like especially in basketball, like dunk specialists, like people that have grown followings with just like dunks, it's hard to do something that's never been seen before, just because we've seen just about everything. But at the same time, I think a perfect 10 should still hold a lot of value. And I'm going to stop now before I keep going for even longer.
Well, and that's what made Helen getting that 10 so special, is because her routine is not cookie cutter. Nobody else does what she does. It means something. So Olivia Dunn irritates the living shit out of me. There, I'm gonna swear too. She drives me insane. There are seven people in the lineup better than her. Like, she is not the best one on her team, but she gets the most attention because she's the hot little blonde girl. Meanwhile, Haley Bryant and Aaliyah Finnegan, who was an actual Olympian for the Philippines, she doesn't get all the money, all the deals, all the accolades. Well, she gets the accolades because she deserves them, but she doesn't get all the attention that Olivia gets. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking about this because it makes me angry. Okay, one last thing. I know this has gone on forever, but quickly, softball. You guys went to the press conference. Thank you so much. I was not able to get away to go. But the season opening press conference with Larissa Anderson. Tell us some quick things that she said that stuck out to you. The comment about the puzzles, I thought was really neat.
Yeah, to sum it very briefly, what they've said is that anything could be like a puzzle. So what they're kind of having them do is they took out a giant puzzle. I think it's like 250 pieces, and every time that a player does something good, they're adding another piece to the puzzle. And so by the end of the season or around that time, they should be able to see the completed puzzle. So right now it's just a bunch of random dots, but it's again that idea, like, the team needs to be together in order to succeed. Last year they had a good amount of superstar power with Lauren Krings, Alex Honnold, Jenna Laird. They're all gone. They've all moved on. So there's still some very talented players on this team. Obviously, Taylor Pinnell, Sierra Harrison, Marissa McCann, those are your three pitchers. Going to take up the bulk of these minutes, maybe as starters, maybe in the rotation. We saw Pinnell as more of a closer. Maybe she might start. Coach LA is still figuring it out. It says she feels confident in all six pitchers that she has in her rotation. In the field, obviously, Kaylee Langer. We've seen a lot of great stuff from her. Effective at the plate. Abby Hay had an incredible freshman year. Players like Madison Walker will keep going on, but there's a reason why you didn't see a lot of players for Mizzou cracking those top 100s, but they're still ranked number 15 in the nation. That's because the overall makeup of this team and the coaching and everything else that's gone into it is at just such a high level, and it doesn't appear that that's going to change anytime this year.
Yeah, on those similar notes, I think it was interesting when she said in regards to the departing seniors like Lauren and Jenna and Maddie and Alex, like, you can't replace them. Yeah. Like, they were them, and the players that are still around are still just the players. Like, I think it would be unfair to expect Sierra Harrison to turn into Lauren Krings this season. Like, right. She just Sierra Harrison.
Like setting her up for failure to be
exactly.
You have to be Lauren Krings now.
Yeah, and that's okay, I'm just going to say one sentence about this and I'll stop. But like, that's why in a way I don't love when players are coming out of high school or college, they're being compared to other players and they're expected to perform like certain players because they remind people of that player. It's fine to be like, oh, I think, like Joe Burrow reminds me of Tom Brady. I don't think it's fair to expect them to become Tom Brady. Right. But I think it's okay to say like, oh, this person reminds me of that person for this reason. Stop there. That was interesting. And then another part I thought that was interesting, and Dylan already mentioned it, is that Larissa Anderson, at least from herself, has no idea how the pitching rotation is going to shake out.
I thought that was interesting too.
Yeah, because it appeared on the surface there were, like Sierra might be the number one starter, or Marissa might be the number one starter. It's maybe a 1A, 1B situation. Taylor was still going to be the closer, and the gaps would be filled in by people like Natalie Touche, and Courtney Donahue coming up from the JUCO ranks. But she was pretty blunt with us and being like, yeah, I don't really know yet. And I'll be watching the early season tournaments pretty closely in terms of what kind of rotations Larissa Anderson works with, especially like certain mid-inning situations, because she mentioned, like, as Dylan said, Taylor Pinnell could come in the fourth inning, which she wasn't doing a whole lot of last season, if I can recall. She was mostly the last couple of innings usually. And so I'll be interested to see that. And then the other thing I'm really excited to see is a potential Abigail leap into like national awesomeness. Larissa mentioned during the presser, like, no one really expects much of you as a freshman. But we saw last year she beat out Madison Walker for the first base spot during the season, and sort of rode that the rest of the way. And so I'm really excited to see if that's what she was as a freshman. That again is like not like new to the sport, but I mean, she was a baseball player growing up. Softball wasn't always her sport, so I've really been
I know it's fall ball, but she looked damn good during fall ball.
Yeah. Was she involved with the power surge during that one scrimmage where I left and then everyone started hitting home runs?
Yeah.
Super awesome. All right. Well, I'm excited to see her rise, and it was good to hear Larissa talk very highly of her. I'm still interested to see what the middle infield looks like. Honestly, what the entire rest of the infield looks like besides first base, because Mizzou loses a lot in that regard. But again, those early season tournaments I think are going to be an okay indicator of what could come when conference play hits Mizzou like a brick, and it is going to be awful. Maybe
it'll be interesting to see also which freshmen are able to make an impact, because there are a bunch of them and some pretty highly rated ones.
Yeah, coach talked about that as well. Like, there's a lot of flexibility not only in this pitching staff but in this roster, so she expects a lot of the freshmen to get some of that playing time early. They said they recruited 5 of their 7 as middle infielders, I believe it was, or who can play that position. You lose Gallagher and Laird. That's definitely a position of need. She said there's probably not going to be any of them who start in every, but some of these early season tournaments. Don't be surprised if you see a freshman starting maybe even day 1, day 2 of these tournaments, just because, again, this is something that they're very much trying a lot of things with. Not decided. They don't even know who their leadoff hitter is really yet, because Jenna Laird's been that for the last couple of years. So the talent is no doubt there. The overall roster construction is there. It's just, like you said, it's a puzzle. It's fitting everybody in the right spots, but I think everyone on this team can play some sort of role to lead to success.
And
I like that she said something about, like, you could see a power hitter at the leadoff position.
Abigail leadoff home run start the season. Book it. No.
She also said, and this is the last thing I'll mention before we get out of here, it's something that she repeated last season a lot, but she said she doesn't want them to be peaking at the beginning of the season. She would like that to happen later on when the games matter the most. And that's what we saw last year. They go on a little run in the SEC tournament, and then after losing to Omaha, they win every single elimination game going forward to make it to super regionals. And they were a few feet away from making it to Oklahoma City. Madison Walker gets a little more of that softball. Oh, man, that would have been really fun. And I would have been really jealous that I wouldn't have been there for both a regionals walk-off to go to super regionals and a super regionals walk-off to go to the Women's College World Series. So I was encouraged by what I heard from Larissa, and I'm excited for the season to get started pretty soon.
Thank you. I'm really glad that you guys were both able to go. It was I knew you would bring back all the goods for me. And very, very quickly, Matthew, volleyball, they got a new recruit, a new freshman.
Yeah,
You
they
get a
did.
minute, 2 minutes tops. Go.
John Cook stealing the headlines today, retiring from Nebraska, but it's another Cook to be on the lookout for Mizzou. Taylor Cook, the 5'11 setter from outside the DFW area, Prestonwood Christian Academy, flipping from KU to MU. The retirement of Kansas head coach Ray Bouchard allows Cook to pursue other opportunities, and she winds up at Mizzou. Mizzou now at 20 players as far as we know. On the roster, they have to get down to 18 by the time the season starts.
Yeah, adding more when you need less is interesting. So it'll be intriguing to see how they get down to the number that they need for the roster limits. All right. Thank you, Matthew. All right. Please head to Rock M Nation. Support the work of all of these fine journalists here, as well as everyone else. You can support us by subscribing to this podcast feed, leaving us a 5-star review, and by joining our subscription service, RockM.Plus. That's only $5 a month. You can follow us on social media. Just read the stuff that's on the screen. We don't have time for this. This has gone online. Thank you for joining us, and see you next time with hopefully another gleeful episode. MIZ.
KCOU.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Rock M Radio, a proud partner of Fans First Sports Network. Rock M Radio is the official podcast network of Rock M Plus, a new and exciting subscription service provided by me and the other voices of Rock M Radio. Please take a few moments to head over to RockM.Plus and sign up for an account today. The cost is only $5 a month, and the benefits include access to our live podcast, a subscriber-only message board, weekly newsletters, and more. If you enjoyed this episode of Rock M Radio and would like to see more just like it beamed directly into your personal device, make sure to click the subscribe button below and tell your friends. Our podcast feed is available through the Apple Podcast app for iPhone, Google Podcast app for Android, whatever app you listen to your podcast. You can also find Rock M Radio on Spotify. If you're looking for a podcast about your favorite team that is not the Missouri Tigers, Fan First Sports Network is your answer. A full podcast network loaded with the team-specific podcasts covering Major League Baseball, the NFL, NHL, NBA, MLS, and more. And we'll be back with more episodes of Rock M Radio coming to you soon.